All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. The university's Board of Governors meeting. The first item of business is to approve the meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the February 23rd, 2023 board meeting minutes?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion passed. We'll now hear the Personnel, Finance and Operations Committee report. Governor Landis.
Yeah, the Missouri Western University Personnel and Finance Committee or Operations Committee met earlier today. And I will now turn the time over to interim VP Ron.
Well, good afternoon. There we go. All right, I'd like to give you a financial update on the university for the first 3 quarters of our fiscal year. The detailed financial statements are in your board book. Operating revenues are at 94% of our revised budget. Tuition and fees are at 97% with the first half of our summer tuition left to come in. So we feel pretty good about that. Housing and food service or other large revenue items are also on pace for the end of the year. And operating expenses, we're on track at 75% with 1 quarter to go. Salaries and compensation is at 69% due to open positions. Fringe benefits are slightly higher than expected at 78%, but this does not include the $450,000 reduction in retirement cost rebated by the state legislature. And if you take that into account, we come very close to our 75%. Utilities are lower than revised budget due to the milder winter weather we experienced. And insurance and scholarships, of course, are higher than our revised budget, but that's due to the timing of those payments. Obviously, scholarships go out at the beginning of the semester, and we also pay for our insurance up front. In our non-operating revenues, of course, state appropriations are right at 75% where they should be. So for the first 3 quarters of our fiscal year, we show a bottom line of $5 million. We anticipate that we will meet our revised budget for the year. And I'll move on to cash right now. Our cash position at the end of March is 13 million. This is about 4 million less than what it was a year ago at this time. And the difference is primarily due to HERF funds provided to the university to help offset expenses during COVID and for capital and scholarship use. Are there any questions or comments about our financial statements?
Any questions?
Okay, the Missouri Western State University Personnel and Finance Committee recommends to the Board of Governors that they approve the March 31st this year financial report as presented.
Thank you, Governor Landis. We have a recommendation coming from the Personnel, Finance and Operations Committee. Do I have a motion to approve the university budget for fiscal year 2023, 2024 as presented?
Budget or the financials?
Excuse me?
No, this is
Just the
Just the
financial
financials. We haven't done the
report.
budgets yet. Yeah,
for the financial. You're
Great.
exactly right.
no problem. So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Hey,
Those opposed, say nay. Motion passed. We'll now hear from the vice presidents and other cabinet members.
All right, we also presented to the Personnel, Finance and Operations Committee, the university budget, projected budget for 2024. For our next year, we're budgeting a decrease in student credit hours. This is primarily due to the smaller classes that were recruited during the COVID years. We're increasing our tuition 7.5%, which is in line with what we believe other state institutions are doing. We are increasing some mandatory fees and changing some course fees due to increased operating costs. We are anticipating a decrease in residence hall occupancy, and we are increasing our rates by 4% with a 5% increase in our meal plan rates as negotiated with Aramark. With the aforementioned assumptions in enrollment, tuition, fees, room and board, our operating revenues will be 46 million. Our operating expenses will be $76 million with salaries and fringe benefits of 39 million and scholarships of 20 million. We're budgeting a 1% increase in salaries in accordance with our compensation plan that we started last year. Our retirement contribution for employees continues to increase, and we do not anticipate receiving a credit from the state. We anticipate a large increase of 28% in our property insurance as we form a new consortium of state universities. Our non-operating revenues and expenses will be at 30 million with a $1.6 million increase in the state appropriation. So we're presenting a balanced budget with a slight increase in net position of 25,000. Are there any questions or comments regarding the financials?
Okay, the Personnel, Finance and Operation Committee recommended to the Board of Governors that they approve the university budget for fiscal year 2023, 2024 as presented.
Thank you, Governor Landis. We have a recommendation coming from the Personnel, Finance and Operations Committee. Do I have a motion to approve the university budget for fiscal year 2023, 2024 as presented?
So moved. So moved.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say nay. Okay. This passed as well. We'll now hear from the vice presidents and the other cabinet members. Academic Affairs, Dr. Laura Reynolds will be first.
Good afternoon. So thank you for the time and the opportunity to talk about the work of academic affairs and the faculty and staff that work with our students and the academic pursuits. So I'm going to give you a few updates and then speak a little bit about some of the specific dynamics in our sort of academic affairs portfolios. So along with updates, and these are things similar to mentioned at the last Board of Governors meeting, our searches, our faculty searches for our new colleagues to teach our students that are both here and arriving. We had 10 tenure track positions that we searched for. We were successful at securing 8 of the 10. And that is outstanding. I could not be happier with that. I did it in part much appreciated to our colleagues in HR and accounting and finance, and Ron and Kathy and Sarah, but also I would like to just make a very clear shout out to the faculty colleagues who manage these committees and the deans. They did a deft job of selling this institution to colleagues that are coming here who will benefit our students and ourselves in terms of our research and the work we do in the community. So I'm really pleased with that. I do want to tell you that like all institutions, we expect departures at the end of the year. That's normal, typical ebb and flow kind of stuff. We have some retirements that in some ways hurt our hearts, but we wish those folks well, and we're so pleased for them. And we have other folks that will move to other positions, and in institutions like ours, very, very typical. So we'll take our strategic hiring approach again next year. We will look at supply, demand. We will look at our course fill rates. We will look at our CBIZ data and what that workforce demand is. And then we will make our evaluations based on what colleagues we need to secure to join us. So again, such thanks to the campus community. This campus is easy to sell in the spring. I gotta say, it's pretty out, unless you have allergies, in which case several people have noted that it is a little bit difficult. So, so look for those folks, those names coming out, and you'll get some profiles of those new faculty members. The next thing I want to just mention to you that you've seen a little bit in the media is that along with the foundation, we were pleased to offer the opportunity for summer faculty fellowship, scholarly stipends for the summer for some of our colleagues to do some scholastic work, to do some research. Much of that involves students. Some of it is archival work. There were 12 folks who applied for that. It was competitive. The Faculty Senate put together a committee to evaluate the proposed work. 6 were awarded, and they represent just a variety of disciplines, history, music, science, and those pieces of research, that scholarship directly impacts our students. We are the kind of institution that's very interested in both scholarship that benefits our community, that benefits our discipline, but also in which students are involved and which directly influences and helps us teach our students more efficiently and in a very tailored way so that they can really go out and do the work they need to do. So I congratulate those colleagues. Some of the titles of their work are quite sophisticated, but I'm glad to share them with you, and please look for and congratulate them when you see their names. The next thing I want to do is I haven't spent too much time just sort of reflecting to you at the prior meetings, but so I've been here 10 months. This is my 10th month. And I mentioned to Governor Landis that I've gotten around the board almost one loop now, right? And so that's been it's been a great experience. It's been a challenge, but I've felt such support from the faculty and the staff and from the cabinet. So I really appreciate that and the chance to get to know the community. But I want to reflect as someone who still has kind of fresh eyes, some of the things that academic affairs and that the folks bringing the scholastic product to the students, some of the pressures and things that we face. And a lot of that is not any different than any other. My colleagues who are provosts and deans at other places, very similar institutions to this, we are all dealing with a lot of the same pressures. So this has been a team operation. Academic affairs is every academic affairs admin all the way through the faculty and the Senate. Everyone is pulling together to bring you the students the great experiences that they receive. But the faculty and academic affairs, the things that have happened this year are remarkable. As somebody who's new, that things like institutional research has been completely rebuilt, to the point where we have individuals writing code for hours to give you the kind of data that you need to make decisions as governors and that we need in cabinet to make good decisions. We have the complete rebuild of IRB and our Office of Research Compliance from the bottom up, so that we can pursue the kind of grants that we need to pursue in tandem with school districts and nonprofits. So a lot of the things that are really sort of those assumed underpinnings, we've been really digging into and doing some heavy lifts, right? With help from colleagues. We've been really overjoyed to have academic advising, the academic support services and the registrar join academic affairs. So a lot of these things are going to make the next year and the data you receive and the information, the decision-making we can make even more fine-tuned. Because right now there are a great many things that, as we mentioned before, we look at and we're like, between COVID and the things that this institution went through, sometimes it's hard to know what's happening. And we are living in a demographic world where we have a reduced number of students that we would even typically market to, and an environment in which they can get jobs. And there's a lot of pressures, no matter who you're trying to hire or who you're trying to attract. It's tough marketing out there. So we're facing a lot of those things, but we're doing a lot of things that make a big difference. Things like looking at ECA differently. And spending in academic affairs and Dr. Hepworth and her team looking at a lot of the details about that and how to better recruit from those high school students that we are already teaching. So doing a lot of that fine work. But after going to NCHEMS and spending some time thinking about the pressures that we face, I wanted to talk a little bit about the students. So if you think about our students, we're really unique in that we are one of about 34 or 35 open access institutions. There aren't that many, and there aren't that many that have graduate programs. There aren't that many that are AACSB and ABET. We are a unique animal in what we offer. And that creates both pressures and advantages, right, that we've seen financially. But one of the things I want to mention is that as an open access institution, which is part of the reason I came here, because I believe that education is a public good, right? And that higher education is a public good and that it raises all boats, right? Raises everyone. We don't control the inputs, right? And from the business model, when you don't control the inputs, life is hard, right? You don't know what's coming. And K-12 doesn't control the inputs either, but you have to go there, right? You don't have to come here. So we really have to think about how that looks and what we do with the folks that come to us and the kind of needs they have. And what I wanted to mention is that those needs are changing. So we have GO coming up, and you probably, I'm learning all the acronyms. GO is Griffin Orientation. So in having academic affairs have academic advising join us. Now I'm working really closely with admissions to coordinate GO, and it's really exciting to have 593 now students have RSVP'd in to come to GO. These are our freshmen that are coming in. But what we know about them is that we know that the GPA they come in with from high school, we can start to see what the risk factor is to losing them, right? And we know that our students, a college that's not open access will have an admissions grid. And there are folks that they're down toward the bottom of the admission grid, and normally they'd be maybe provisionally admitted, right? We take everybody. But when you take everybody, that part of what would be someone's grid takes extra support. It's an extra lift, right? We call those our pathway students, right? Our pathway students have a GPA that's under 2.5, and a bulk of them have a GPA from high school under 2.0. And keep in mind that the school district that directly serves us, one of them has a 78% graduation rate, right? All these high schools and all these kids are coming to us with COVID in their background. They have gaps. And that's on top of the other characteristics that they have in coming to an open access institution. And what we know is that GPA is helping us now target them in terms of interventions, right? Because we know that once we get them to their senior year, 91% of them stay and graduate. Their junior year, 87%. Their sophomore year, 75%, but when they're freshmen, it's 50%, right? And while that seems tough, if you're an open access institution, it's not a surprise. But the real question is that if they come in with under a 2.0 or below, they only have a 21% chance of making it, of staying. So for us, we have to think about what can we do for those folks. That takes extra resources. Those take extra humans in classrooms. Those take retooling syllabi and assignments. That's resources that faculty need in order to figure out how to work with these students better. How can Canvas be different? How can advising be more friendly, kind of an intrusive? Intrusive sounds really terrible, but it's actually supposed to be good. How can we do outreach? What kind of supportive activities can we offer? And that's all resources that we are very careful about expending. That group of people, those pathway students, what I want to tell you is that band in our admissions is growing. So what was 2 or 3 years ago looked like 15 to 17% of our students is now about 24% of the students that are RSVPing for GO. And we want them here, and we want them to be successful and stay here. But in order to have them be successful and stay here, what we're going to have to spend some time doing is thinking about what resources we need to bring and we need to help the faculty bring to the classrooms. What are our skill sets that work? What are our colleagues around the country finding that work for our unique students? We know that this will involve potentially thinking about class sizes. It involves thinking about what textbooks are required. Are they available are they open access available textbooks? What kind of tutoring is available? Those are all resources, so we have to think about how to allocate them. So what I want to do is assure you that as we look at retention, academic affairs, and every faculty member on this campus, every instructor, every academic advisor, the Center for Academic Support are laser focused on retaining these students. But we are sitting on emerging data, right? These are things that not only did we aren't really able to pull our own archive data on, is that in higher ed, we don't necessarily know how this is going to go post-COVID. It's hard to predict. But what we will be able to do is next year, we will be able to tell you based on some pilots that we're doing this year, what did work for our students and what kind of feedback we've gotten on that, what kind of data we've collected and what kind of interventions we're going to try next. Because I usually explain it as a graphic equalizer, right? There's no one silver bullet for any of this. All these students are different. They have different component needs. We're going to need to change a lot of things a little bit, some things more than others. But what I want you to know is that the faculty and the staff are dedicated to that, and that we are going to spend a lot of time mapping what we do, how it works, and then be able to make decisions based on that data going forward. So, and with that, I will take any questions.
Laura, what challenges do you face, and what kind of strategies do we have in blending the pathways group? We said up to about 25%, but the 75% there. How do we? What challenges are there in selling that that we are a viable institution for the 75%, the non-pathway students, if we divert so much resources to the other?
Yeah, and I think that the beautiful thing about Missouri Western is that we have, especially when you think about like the sophisticated undergraduate research and applied learning that we're doing, that 75%, they have excellent opportunities. Our NCLEX pass rate of 100%. I just watched students who are starting PhD programs with research. Those folks, they're getting everything they need. I think we need to do a better job bespoking that and better job marketing the fact that we have very high level product here, and we have faculty that have outstanding credentials. But the struggle is that we have to provide both, right? It's that ability to differentiate instruction. And sometimes that is a challenge within individual classes. But what we're trying to look at is how do we group those classes, and how our students, we have a pilot next year in the fall to look at how clusters of classes are working together, and how students with specific instructors who move through, say, in a little more of a cohort model, is that a better approach? We're trying to think about that broadly. The 75%, I will tell you, after watching the research that's happening here, somebody told me that Missouri Western is like the best kept secret. And it's honestly, it's true. It's true for those students. That I think that the thing that's hard is the students who are not advantaged in this way. They aren't necessarily they aren't able to take advantage of the research opportunities and applied learning in some ways, and that in the way it exists now. And so I think they're getting lost. So I don't think this is at all at the detriment of the 75%. But I think your point is a good one, in that we need to be clearer about the outstanding pathways to, say, professional studies that exist here, which is remarkable.
I appreciate your remarks. In some ways, it was a rhetorical question with that, because I think the 75% have a tremendous
I
opportunity
agree.
here. I just.
It's a chance for me to brag though, so I appreciate that.
Absolutely. I have personal experience with
I know.
how well the education is here. So I guess I was saying, I want that to always be intertwined with everything we do, that we are not just affordable, or that we are an economic a quality option, but our other academic opportunities and our for postgraduate, for employment, are outstanding as well, that we don't sacrifice one for the other, and just that we keep singing that song and beating that drum, because we all believe it and we all know it absolutely to be true, but just want it to be a core to our message.
Agreed. Sir,
I was non-commissioned officer.
I've heard that before, but
Okay, But
I've been in the South too long not to call you sir.
I appreciate it. You know, when we looked earlier and we're looking at our finances and everything in here, you know, we're going down as far as students coming here.
Mhm.
Now, everybody else has got the problem too, not us. And more, and you're talking about how we're going to move forward, which I'm impressed with that. But is it a matter of marketing? I mean, and what, how do we get out there more to express to them how good this really is?
And I'll let the folks who are a little more experts at marketing talk about that. But I think to some extent it is, and I don't think that we're alone in that. I think institutions like
Sure.
ours, it is one of those things that we are too overly humble, I think, sometimes. And I think it's sometimes using our students that are the success stories, and to have them, you know, watching Dr. Ducey's is two of the applied learning students at the University Council present their experiences this last week. It's amazing the things that they do. And sometimes the student stories are the most powerful.
Yeah.
Right. And those are our folks who are directly benefiting. So I think we need to do a better job with that. But I also think that it's everything everywhere all at once, right? It's the making sure that our ECA students are having this great experience when they're in high school, so that they see this as the natural transition and bring those credits over. It's at making sure we develop our certificate programs and our graduate programs. It's a portfolio approach. And sometimes we've discovered multi-generational marketing, right? When we're selling to a freshman, we're also selling to the parent who needs to come back and wants to get a master's degree. Thinking about ourselves in that way, I think, and the more sophisticated we get in terms of our marketing and the kinds of explanation we can do of the great things we have here, I think that we will be able to make the most of the market that we have and expand it.
If I may, Governor Landis, you mentioned we're going down, and I just have to point out, last fall was the first fall in a long time where we had an increase in the new students coming here. So I think we're starting to see that reversal. Our overall enrollment is down, and that's different.
Yes.
So we're not going down in people coming here per se, because we are getting more new students here. And I think part of that small but trend moving in the right direction is what we have been doing to publicize this, and certainly bringing on the provost has had a big impact on what we're doing too.
Well, I agree with that last statement. But to your point, we are going there. But like I said, if you look around to everybody else, a lot of other people are much worse shape than what we're even talking about. So anyway.
Other comments or questions? Thank you, Dr. Reynolds.
Many thanks.
Next up, we'll have the University Advancement and Missouri Western State University Foundation Representative, Mark Archambault.
Good afternoon, governors. You've got my report, so I won't recite all of it, but I will touch on some highlights. Through the end of February, which is the last month that we have fully closed, fundraising outcomes to date remain similar to last year at this time, despite severe headwinds from the weak stock market, high inflation, and banking anxieties. I'd love to say we're ahead, but at the moment, I'm actually quite pleased we're holding serve. We'll continue to ride this out and continue to try to ramp up our efforts. For the current fiscal year, beginning in July 1, 2022, we have so far this year booked over $1 million in cash receipts thus far, and fundraising efforts continue. In particular, fundraising efforts for the Convergent Technology Alliance Center project continue, with several substantial solicitations recently submitted and awaiting response in the near future. I think we'll have some good things to announce in the not too distant future. Various efforts to increase cash gift receipts are also underway. Supported by advancement and foundation staff members, foundation board members are tapping into their networks to solicit funds for the Western League for Excellence that provides valuable unrestricted gift funds to the university. Another source of revenue comes from some very important volunteer and donor groups in the community. One is the annual Art Society gathering that was held on March 7th in Potter Hall Art Gallery. The event featured presentations by faculty from music, art history, and cinema, each highlighting their incorporation of technology and applied learning into their teaching. Art Society Chair Drew Brown announced that 7 faculty members in the School of Fine Arts will receive grants totaling more than a total of $22,000 for applied learning projects and technology-based teaching tools. Another great case study I want to take just a moment to touch on has been our Ambassadors Program. The Ambassadors Program continues to host programs that serve as a bridge that connects our St. Joseph and campus communities. This group also generously donates scholarship support to non-traditional students or modern learners. Expertly led by community member Connie Wolenman, the ambassadors have been meeting with good success in their updated multi-pronged fundraising approach they adopted this year. They added a Scholarship Champions Giving Society level in their organization, recruited a number of event sponsors, and have hosted several community fundraisers as well. They're rapidly nearing their goal of $15,000 in non-traditional scholarship fundraising goals. Connie and her team of volunteer leaders have also been conducting a remarkably successful membership drive. That's also a big part of how they can expand both their philanthropic reach and their voice in the community. They set a goal of 100 members for this year, beginning from an initial starting point of just 50 members in October. They are already at 88 and closing in on their goal. So that's fairly rapid growth in membership, and that's what we like to see. Few words from the Alumni Association. The Missouri Western Alumni Board elected new officers for the organization, bidding farewell to past president Lamonte Hunter, class of '99, and welcoming Brian Gray as the new leader of the organization, Brian Gray, class of '90. We also recognize 2 other members of the board who have served their 3 3-year terms, 9 total years, and are rolling off the board. Those being our alumni Natalie Redmond, class of 2000, and Tona Williams, also of class of 2000. During its meeting, the board selected the winners of its various awards, and there were a lot of well-deserving people named to those awards. But in particular, I thought the board might be interested to know that this year, the Alumni Board proudly selected as the winner of this year's Herb and Peggy Ifford Award for Outstanding Service to the University, a well-known community member, Dennis Rozanki. So we're proud to see Dennis has earned that award. I hope you'll join me in congratulating him when the time comes. Our alumni have been very active in mentorship and supporting applied learning on campus. The president might say a word later about the MORISE program, the Missouri Regional Industrial Science and Engineering Career Networking Event. It's a mouthful. That's why they go with MORISE. Nearly 20 alumni came back for that event. These alums brought career expertise in biology, biochemistry and molecular biology, chemistry, engineering, technology, and other fields in which they're currently employed to share their ideas and job opportunities with the 60 students who were present. So very good event. A couple of items from the foundation. As I shared in a previous report, the foundation continues to advance its plans to issue an RFP for investment services providers by July of this year. And in partnership with the university, Missouri Western Foundation has acquired a digital board governance tool, commonly known as a board portal, that will streamline board operations, reduce staff preparation time, and empower the board with additional resources. We'll be providing training on this. It'll be a tool used both by the Board of Governors in the future and the Foundation Board. Training will be supplied, and then once that training's provided, we'll look ahead to transitioning from paper to digital books after that time. That's my report, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Hearing no questions, we thank you. Next up is the enrollment management and marketing and communication by Becky Dunn.
Good afternoon. I will begin with a fall recruitment update. So as you've heard, I am overseeing our Office of Admissions, and I'm going to provide just a few details with you. This change started on March 20th, so I'm just about a month in, and I've spent a great deal of time working one-on-one with staff, learning more about daily operations and getting a handle on where we're at and what we need to focus on first. So my report will not be as in-depth as perhaps future reports, but I think you'll cut me a little bit of slack. So the first thing, this is freshman admits by Missouri territory. And so as we're looking at the way that we divide up the state of Missouri with our recruitment coordinators, the light yellow is 2021, the blue is 2022, and the black is 2023. So you can see with Buchanan County, 377 freshmen admits, Kansas City and Central Missouri, 513, North Kansas City, 211, East Missouri, 260, North Missouri, 312, and South Missouri, 111. In the fall semester, we were down 2 recruitment coordinators, so we had a lot of ground to make up in the spring. And we were able to still communicate with those students, still encourage them to complete the application process, encourage them to sign up for registration, and sending out materials with our normal communication flow with all of the publications that we share. So we were able to pick up some speed in the spring when we were fully staffed and cover those areas that had not been fully covered in the fall. And so that is very helpful. As you look at a breakdown by the top Missouri counties, again, this is freshman admits. So the yellow is 2021, the blue is 2022, and the black is 2023. So Andrew County, we have 54, Buchanan County, 377, Clay County, 145, Jackson County, 338, Platte, 66, and St. Louis County, 125. So as you've heard, Buchanan County, of course, this is a primary feeder for us when we're looking at our students coming to Missouri Western. Dr. Reynolds mentioned Griffin orientation. So this is our summer orientation, and we invite students to start signing up. They were first invited in February, and so we're monitoring this on a weekly, daily basis. And as you heard, we currently have 593 students registered for a Go session. This is an increase of 4% compared to this time last year. So we're very excited to see that more students are committing and they're signing up to come to orientation. And this is a really big part of our strategy. You may have heard the term MELT. And so the idea is that at the end of high school, the student melts away over the summer and they don't enroll in the fall. And we want to freeze that melt. And the reasons that they melt are because they are no longer connected to that school. They don't have the support system in place. The school counselor's not reminding them. They're not getting notifications with posters and visits and events. So they're kind of on their own. And so what we're trying to do is bridge that gap with our communication strategy. We want them to feel connected to us. We want them to feel that we have guidance and that we're providing support. And we also want to help them navigate all of the decisions that they need to make. We're also aware that students may be the first in their family to go to college. And so no one is able at home to help them understand those next steps. So our communication strategy, our touch points that we have with them from the end of high school till the beginning of our fall semester are really, really critical. And Griffin orientation is one of those big pieces. We want to make them feel supported and welcome, and we want to help them demystify the steps so that it's not as confusing or overwhelming. So look at the next steps for me, and looking at May through August, what we're going to prioritize will be communications. So we're continuing to follow up with students who've submitted an application who need to complete it. We still have students who are submitting applications. We're reaching out to those admitted students, encouraging them to commit, sign up for Griffin orientation. We'll work with those students through that process. And then also at this time, we're creating our publications for our next recruitment cycle. And so there's a great deal of work that's happening with communications. We're also working on staffing. So we have several vacancies in the Office of Admissions that we're working to fill, and also recruiting student leaders to work with our orientation programs. And so that is definitely a big need. And then planning those orientation programs over the summer, our Griffin orientation, and then Griffin Edge, which is our 4-day residential welcome. And students earn a 1 credit hour course. And it's a great way for them to connect and find those resources. So those are the areas of focus at this time as I'm overseeing the Office of Admissions. Any questions about this before I move on to marketing? Okay, so with marketing, you'll see page 41 in your board book, some updates. I'll provide a few highlights for you. We continue to provide a lot of promotional and event support across campus. We have a new staff member who joined, Alora Maxwell. She is our digital marketing coordinator, and her top priorities will be managing our main social media accounts. Alora is an alum, and she was also a student athlete. She played soccer. So we're very excited to have her on our team. We are also working to support the campus. And so you'll see in my report the project request forms that we receive. So in the time that I'm reporting in this board book is February 1st to March 31st. And we received and processed 386 project requests in that time period. So it's about 9 each business day. So we're pretty hopping. The departments who submit the most requests are admissions, human resources, the dean of students, and the nursing department for this particular time period. With social media, I've got some information there, but I will point out that Facebook was really performing well for us in this period. We saw a big increase in clicks and page views, and also mentions and shares. And that really speaks to the quality of the content if people are engaging in that way. SmugMug is our photo sharing site, continues to be very popular. We had over 100,000 views in this time period, most of those happening in March. And the top performing gallery was student life. So students really want to know what it's like to be a student at Missouri Western. And so that gallery is really helping them understand that. In terms of some marketing efforts, we are really trying to look at some short-term ways that we can support the admissions recruitment efforts and think about influencing students and the people that influence them. So we have a range of ads that we're placing, some print ads in the Savannah Reporter and in the news press. We have several digital ads that we're also pushing out. We're promoting graduate programs, specifically the MBA, the Masters in Teaching, and the TESOL programs. We're also promoting our summer courses. So if a visiting student wants to enroll this summer, classes start May 30th. And finally, we're targeting students in Buchanan County. And so really reaching out to them and geofencing some ads that they're displaying for those students. We're supporting teachers in the St. Joseph School District. So Teacher Appreciation Week starts on May 8th. And we will be visiting the 3 public high schools, providing some treats and t-shirts. So we're excited to do that. We've collaborated with other offices on campus to host a financial aid week and tried to get the word out to help our students plan for how they'll pay for college, both new students and current students. And it's not too late to file the FAFSA. So if anyone asks, you can still do it. And then finally, we're looking at our custom view book, and we talk about this in previous meetings, or I have. We're going to be pushing out a personalized custom view book to students who have not ever created one. and also to their family members. So it's a way to say, here's some information about Missouri Western, and then to those family members, your student just received this. Here's some information for you to consider Missouri Western as well. Those are a few of the things that we're doing in this marketing short-term campaign at this time. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. For both what Becky, you said and Paul said. I'm encouraged that we've made the turn here because I think that's what you're doing right now. Very good.
Thank you.
And we'll get good results.
I hope so. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have the Student Affairs by Mr. Chris Dunn.
Good afternoon, governors. This is my first time to ever provide a report to you. Like Becky, I am in a new role for the last few weeks involving student affairs and overseeing all the offices under the Dean of Students. I would like to start by saying thank you for your service. I was in Jeff City yesterday and I watched the gubernatorial appointments committee at work in the Missouri Senate. And I know that you all have been through that process. And I congratulate you for that because it's not easy. And it's not fun either. And I compliment you in this way so that you will be nice to me as I get my report. Okay.
We can tell you've been in Jeff City.
By the way, I want to thank you for your service.
Appreciate it. So most of the things that I'm going to share with you are in your board book. I will share with you a couple of updated numbers from this week, but I want to highlight a couple of things. And the first one is with Western's Food Pantry, our campus cupboard. We have had over 750 students use it this year, and we have, with the help of the Student Government Association and other resources, been able to distribute more than 4,200 pounds of food. I will tell you that in the months of February and March, we distributed more than 1,000 pounds of food during that 2-month period this year, more than we did last year. So 1,000 pounds more worth of food. And I want to thank Chrissy Curtin, who helps manage the campus cupboard for us and gets to speak with most of the students that come in and out of there. But that's an important service that the university has for our students, and I'm glad that they're taking advantage of it. And I would ask you all to continue to support it, and we appreciate SGA's partnership with that. I also want to share that with our Center for Student Involvement, earlier this year in the fall, they started using an application called Max Engage, and they've been tracking all the student events. And they've also been trying to track the participation in those student events. We've had more than 144 student events this year, and we've been able to successfully note and keep track that we've had more than 1,800 students participate in those 144 plus events. And so as the discussion about data has taken place this afternoon, that's something that Student Affairs is trying to do a better job of. What are freshmen coming to more events than seniors? Are non-traditional students coming to more events or less events than those that are on campus? And so we want to be able to provide you more data. And so Max Engage is allowing us to do that. And I just wanted to highlight that from your board book as well. The Counseling Center is a free service that the university provides. We have several counselors in there, licensed counselors, and we have had more than 500 students use that service since, I believe, since this semester began. Yes, this semester. So more than 700 students have made appointments, and for various reasons, they don't always make the appointment, but as you look at the needs of students and helping be able to manage crises and personal events in their lives, I just wanted to highlight that more than 500 students have taken advantage of the Counseling Center and the services that they provide. Also in your board book, you'll see under the Department of Housing and Residence Life that we're about 60% occupancy in our dormitories. And that's about 4% more than the same time last year. So that's a good thing for the university. And then lastly, I want to point out, sticking with housing. The most recent number, I got this number this morning, we have 261 applications already filed for housing for the fall. That's 63 more applications than the same time last year. We also have 233 contract renewals. So those are students that are already in the dorms that have decided they want to come back to the dorms next fall. And that number is up 36 applications or 36 renewals over the same period of time last year. So I've got two more things for you, governors. I want to highlight that this week on Tuesday night, we had our SOAR Awards sponsored by the Student Government Association. More than 150 students received certificates, pins, or awards for their participation in recognized student organizations, in student government, and in fraternities. And that was more than I think we've ever given out. More than the 150 is by far the most students we've ever recognized during a SOAR award. So that was a great event. And we had a lot of happy students at that banquet. And again, I want to highlight SGA and the banquet, their support for that event. They sponsored it. I want to highlight an event this next week that takes place on Friday, May 5th at 5:30 in this hallway, in these rooms where we had lunch, is our international and multicultural sash ceremony, where we recognize our international students and our multicultural students, especially those who are graduating. They will be presented with their sashes, and that takes place. Dr. Kennedy will help with that event. She will help distribute sashes, and that takes place next Friday at 5:30. And you all are invited. And so lastly, I want to recognize a couple of people. First of all, in the last few weeks, I've gotten to see how Dr. Brett Bruner operates as the Dean of Students on our campus. And he might be one of the busiest folks we have here. And Dr. Bruner, if you wouldn't mind to stand, he's going to leave us and go work at Wichita State. He's going to get out of the student affairs business for a while and work on student retention strategies, student success in the under academic affairs at Wichita State University. So Dr. Bruner, I just want to recognize you. Thank you for your service to Missouri Western. And we wish you every success as you go back to Kansas. And thank you for the 2 years that you have dedicated your life to our students and their success. So if we could just thank you. And lastly, I want to recognize Nathan Scott. And Dr. Kinney, I don't know if you're going to say anything, so I hope I'm not stealing your thunder. But on Tuesday night, I had the privilege of swearing in the new student body president. And Nathan has served in that capacity over the last 3 years. And he was a vice president for a year before that, and he was a senator a year before that. So Nathan is a graduate student here, and he has also committed a lot of time, effort, and resources to helping the Student Government Association operate effectively. So I just wanted to recognize you, Nathan, as well. Thank you for your service. I would be happy to answer any questions you might have about student affairs. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you. Next will be Andy Carter, Director of Athletics.
Good afternoon, governors. Just a fairly brief report, although there's a lot going on. Just wanted to touch on a couple of things. I want to go back a few weeks and just talk about how exciting it was to host with the city the Elite Eight basketball tournament. All of the teams, the participants, all of the NCAA representatives and stakeholders have been just highly complimentive of the effort, the facility, the experiences those young people were able to have. And we're grateful to be able to do that again next year. We also are going to bring back the MIAA volleyball tournament to the Civic for another 2 years. which I'm excited about because the more we do these things, the more the word gets out on how well we do these things, we'll get better and more opportunity. A couple of personnel updates I listed in there. I'm not going to specifically go through those, just to let you know that our team is coming together from a cultural standpoint, an expectation standpoint, and hiring people who believe in what we're doing. And I'm excited about a couple of particular moves, but all of them in general. The people we're having the opportunity to bring on our team are just fantastic. And that will kind of culminate here in the next few days when we announce our new head baseball coach. That process has been fantastic. Not only from a quantity of applicants, but a quality that, in the end, there were 15 to 20 quality applicants that I felt good that could run this program in the direction we wanted to go. Ultimately, only one get it, right? And so we've had to bear down on that, and that announcement will be coming soon. If you braved the cold weather last Saturday, you got a glimpse of our football program. That the attendance was fantastic. I was really shocked when I woke up and realized what the weather was going to be like, and then we actually got snow and some sleet and some wind and cold temperatures. But nonetheless, we had a full stadium club of people, lots of new people that are interested in how they can help support Griffin athletics. Our spring sports, so women's tennis opens the regional tournament north of here against Central Oklahoma on Friday, with an opportunity then to play Northwest Missouri State for an opportunity to go to the championship. They've had another outstanding season, second year in a row they've made their region, and currently are ranked in the top 35. Outdoor track, men's and women's outdoor track are still competing conference level and then on to regional. But if you have the opportunity to pay attention to social media where most of their stuff gets published, just consistently upping the bar on not only school records, but personal bests. And really exciting to see where that's going. Softball has a huge weekend this weekend. They have 4 contests, 2 on Friday, 2 on Saturday. If we win 3, this is a really bizarre year in that if we win 3, we get into the tournament, the MIAA tournament, but that probably also puts us into the Central Regional tournament as well. So there's a chance. I mean, right now we're 9th in the conference, but we're 8th in the region. Now, somebody can tell me the rationale in that, then you got one up on me, but that's kind of how it's sitting right now. Also, we're real excited about the return of our summer guests, the Kansas City Chiefs, and we have already began the meeting process. It's kind of feeling like deja vu for me because this is right about the time I arrived next year, and one of the first things we did is we had a Chiefs meeting. So we're starting to get that full cycle, and we're excited to get prepared for them to arrive. Just one last kind of some comments and some thoughts about some of the landscape and intercollegiate athletics that are changing rapidly. I mean, I felt like during the COVID time that there were things that moved so fast that decisions you made an hour ago became obsolete very quick. And we're seeing this again, just in the landscape of athletics. We still face many of the same, what I would call normal issues, like the cost of employee talent. Talent is getting more expensive to attract to our university. Cost of goods and services, with the inflation, mainly in things like transportation, hotels, food, apparel, and equipment have all skyrocketed. And then I would say the expectations of the recruited population. There's just an enhancement on what they expect out of us if we're going to be part of their process. And now we have some very much what I would call added pressures. And there's a lot of conversation going on around these things and not a lot of determinations, right? So we don't know where they're going to land yet. So you have to kind of anticipate. But obviously, NIL is no longer new and the portal are no longer new, but they're not staying the way they are. They're going to continue to morph and change, and we need to be prepared for some of that. The potential reclassification of student athletes as employees is a possibility. Now, I don't think anybody that I've met thinks that's a good idea, but nonetheless, it's an agenda that's getting pushed at the NCAA level. And the increased responsibilities for universities to provide extended healthcare coverage, in some cases up to 10 years after participation. Those are real problems that we have to find solutions for should those come about. And then, then you add the unknown issues that we're going to get hit with over the next 12 months as Congress gets involved. And, no offense to anybody, but my spider senses have a feel that once you allow Congress in the door, they don't want to just address the issues that you want them to address. They want to address everything. And so then we don't know what that looks like. And so we're at a pivotal time for NCAA athletics, and what we're going to look like and what it's going to feel like and what the cost of doing business model could change drastically, because whatever happens at the top, eventually portions of it trickle to where we are in Division II. So that's my report, and I'll be glad to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we'll have the report of the president, Elizabeth Kennedy.
All right. Well, thank you, Chair Eversold, Vice Chair Schoonover, and governors. Before we get too far into this, I do want to apologize if it looks like I'm on my phone a lot. My brother-in-law is having open heart surgery right now, so I'm just monitoring my email and text. So I just want to let you know I'm not looking at Facebook, I assure you. I'd also, before we get started too much, I'd like to ask for us to remember former President Dr. James Scanlon. We learned with sadness he passed away Tuesday, March 14th, and it really was Dr. Scanlon that helped shape our mission of applied learning for our beloved university. And he served as president from 2001 to 2008. One of his greatest achievements as president was stewarding the statutory designation of Missouri Western as a university in 2005. I think also when he retired in 2008, he and his wife Lauren established the Blake K. Scanlon Applied Learning Scholarship. This was named in honor of his son, and it was to provide grants to Missouri Western students presenting refereed papers or posters or exhibiting juried works or performances in national and international professional venues. And then 2 of our annual awards to faculty and staff are named in his honor, the James J. Scanlon Awards for Service to the Community. And the residence hall that was known as the Living Learning Center was renamed Scanlon Hall to honor his and Lauren's legacy at Missouri Western. Dr. Scanlon, by those who knew him, remember him for his warmth, his empathy, and his integrity. So if we could just perhaps take a moment of silence to offer to remember him, I think that would be a nice thing to do. Thank you. And also on a different note, I was going to thank Nathan, but Chris, you did a great job. And I have to see if you saw Nathan's wave, he's definitely got the politician wave down. It's very, very nice. So again, thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure getting to know you and working with you in your capacity. And as we say goodbye to the former students, we welcome our new students. We have a new student governor, Garrett Jackson, who traveled to Jeff City yesterday with Chris and ran the gamut and did those kinds of things. But welcome to our board. As mentioned, Garrett is a graduate of St. Joseph Christian High School and is currently a sophomore, junior, even better. Maybe when I met you, you were a sophomore. But won't you join me in welcoming Garrett to our board? Very good. So awards and ceremonies, as we know, April is certainly event season at Missouri Western. In fact, In the 24 days between April 12th and May 6th, there have been at least 25 major events happening. And this week alone, there are 11 events scheduled, ranging from our Student Organization Award Reception or SOAR to our Biology Gold Fridays portal, Student Poster Showcase, to awards and receptions in the departments of psychology, chemistry, and computer science, mathematics, and physics, just to name a few. And of course, April ends and May is our culminating event, is which we hold commencement. Our spring 2023 commencement ceremony is on Saturday, May 6th. It will be held at the Civic Arena, and the ceremony there begins promptly at 1 p.m. I'm pleased to let you know that Mr. Steve Craig will be joining us as part of the platform party. I'm excited to have that. And we are honored to have Senator Roy Blunt, who has graciously agreed to provide the commencement address to our graduates. And speaking of the senator, I'm incredibly proud to report that Senator Blunt has donated to Missouri Western the many prestigious education awards that he has received over the course of his illustrious career. As such, we will be holding the dedication of the Roy Blunt Excellence in Education exhibit at 11:30 a.m. at the Civic just prior to commencement. We have a small reception there, and we will house the exhibit in our Hearn Center library. So I think this is a wonderful kudos to the university. We're excited about that. And I just need to give a couple of shout outs here. First, to the entire commencement committee and there are 24 members on our commencement committee, but for their dedicated efforts in putting together what promises to be a really superb ceremony. And this is no easy lift, particularly since they have to work with me, I assure you. But the group is led by Dr. Hepworth, and they have worked tirelessly over the past several months, if not almost a year. Yes, she's shaking her head, to provide a wonderful ceremony for all. And secondly, I'd like to recognize Mr. Steve Johnston. He's not here, but it was really Steve's initiative to work with the senator and to secure him as our commencement speaker. And I am confident he played a big role in getting the donation of his awards. And I think it's in large part due to the special relationship that Steve formed with the senator. I mean, the senator speaks fondly of both Missouri Western and the city of St. Joseph. And I think in large part that's because of Steve. So I'm very, very happy about that. So, given that this year's Apple Blossom Queen is a Missouri Western student, Brianna Hess, she's a freshman convergent journalism and public relations major from St. Joe. And considering our distinguished guests, Steve Craig and Senator Blunt, Saturday, May 6th is going to be a hallmark day for Missouri Western. So excited about that. In addition to it being award event season, it has been the year of the accreditation cycle at the university. Now, as governors know, whether it be for programs or institutions, accreditation represents the gold standard. Having an accredited program or an institution is an endorsement that there has been a rigorous evaluation and assessment, which has indicated that a very high set of standards across many factors has been achieved. And as you might imagine, it is both extremely important and extremely hard work. When you're completing self-studies, this requires tremendous amount of reporting and documenting and analyzing, and then hosting the site team visits. Challenge logistical expertise is tangible proof of what's been provided, and the self-study is actually being conducted on the campus. In other words, they come to make sure we're doing what we say we're doing, right? So in short, achieving and maintaining accreditation is a very challenging process. I am proud to report that this semester has been a particularly busy and successful accreditation season. Between February and March, we had 5 different accreditation processes ongoing. And these include in February 22 to 24, our nursing programs, all of them were visited by the Commission on Collegiate Nursing Education. We will see the final results, but so far it's been a good report. February 16th, our Bachelor's of Science in Social Work. We had the Council on Social Work Education. We had their site visit and met with those folks. Their report should be released in June. Also a positive visit. And speaking of the undergraduate degree, we submitted the accreditation to CSWE, the Council on Social Work Education, for our Masters in Social Work program. And this was done on April 10th. And finally, March 26th to 29th, our physical therapy assistant program had the Commission on Accreditation and Physical Therapy Education hosted, again, accreditation site visits for those individuals. And as you know, we received provisional accreditation for respiratory therapy in early March. It's provisional because we haven't graduated anybody yet. So that's the best they can give us at this time, but we will take it. So as you can see, all of these favorable reports, or all of these reports have been favorable thus far. We're confident that they're coming. And I want to make sure that the faculty, the staff, and the administrators and the students, because our students do participate in this process, that they are given some kudos and a shout out, because this is really important work and it is very good work. Let me give you a couple of updates, if you will. We'll talk about the search for the Dean of the College of Business and Professional Studies. Thus far, 2 of the 3 finalists have been brought to campus for interviews. We have the 3rd scheduled for next week. As we continue down this path, I will keep the governors abreast of what is going on. As you know, we are also searching for a permanent vice president for finance and administration. Vice President Mark Archambault is the search committee chair. Chris Dunn and foundation board member Bill Grimwood are serving as the committee. We all met with the team from Witt Kiefer. Witt Kiefer is the firm we are using to help us find this individual. They are finishing the leadership profile for us and the position posting. Recruitment will begin in the next week or so and continue through June. We anticipate that the search committee will do the candidate review mid-June, and that we will have interviews to begin late June and hopefully finalists brought to campus early to mid-July. So it's a somewhat aggressive timeline, but they are confident that we'll be able to do that. So I'll provide you with more details as they become available. In the meantime, the governors have heard from our interim vice president, Ron Ullinger, today, and I'm really pleased to report he has joined cabinet. He is engaged in the many areas under his supervision. His presence has been very positive and very steady. And I would say that the transition to date has been nearly seamless. Very, very nice. So I really appreciate his willingness to return to Missouri Western and help us continue our good work. That's been wonderful. Quick update about Vartabedian Hall, because as you remember, it was Christmas Eve that we dealt with the flood. So repairs are well underway, and I would provide you a brief update. The latter part of this week, physical plant intends to wrap things up with the final cleanup and ensure all the safety devices are operating as designed. And if all continues well, we anticipate total project completion by the 1st or 2nd week of May. So kudos to those many who worked on it, especially Brian Annikins and his physical plant team, and Mark White for safety management. I was there when just after ServPro had been in, and if you've ever seen a house or a building or something that is post ServPro, it looks like some kind of terrorist bomb went off. You're talking drywall ripped up and plastic and fans. And so it's come a long way. So very good word. Thank you, sir. Just a little bit about connecting with the community. As you might imagine, it's been busy around here, but I am continuing to work to tell our story, to promote the good work that the university is doing, informing those key and foundational relationships. And I've been involved in numerous activities, many of which I've already shared with the board and are in my report. Let me just say this. I do believe we have had another good academic year at Missouri Western. From what the cabinet members have shared with you today, we, our faculty, our staff, our administration have worked with dedication and a deep commitment to continuing to serve our students well and to strengthen our university mission of applied learning. As I often say, Missouri Western is moving forward with clear direction and sure purpose, and it is incredibly gratifying to know that you all are along with us for these efforts. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
No questions, no comments?
Pretty much I'm frozen, so I can't. Although some people might be relieved.
I'll share my jacket with you. Is that okay?
I have a jacket. Helping.
Well, that was a startling comment.
Yeah.
Hearing no questions, thank you, President Kennedy. Okay, we have report of the chair. And first up, I would like to thank Nathan Scott, myself, on behalf of the board. He's been a pleasure to work with and has been at all of our meetings. And he's worked very hard in running the Student Government Association. So thank you, Nathan. and good luck. I too would like to welcome our newest board member, Garrett Jackson. Congratulations. And as I told you before, you get the same pay as we get, even though you're a student. I've known Garrett's family for a long, long time. In fact, he has an uncle that was in school in my class. So good family, good people. Welcome. I'd like to thank the governors for getting the ethics, Missouri ethics report completed. Kind of a important thing for us to do on an annual basis, at least as far as the state's concerned. I too would like to welcome Ron Olinger, and it has been a pleasure to have him on board and working with him. So good job. Thank you. I guess the worst thing could happen, we never find a full-time replacement and we have to keep her on.
I don't think you're supposed to let him hear that.
I didn't notice an accent though.
Well, you know, having said that, Kayla, his report was much faster than we're used to. So. I also would like to thank our audience that seems to come to all of our meetings, even though they're not required to. Many of you come every time, and I think that's a healthy sign of our community as well as our university. So thanks to all of you that attend our boring meetings. I wanted to give a shout out to Crystal Harris. Crystal took over a mammoth job back when COVID hit and done an excellent job at it, in my opinion. And we're all thankful for that. And I'm glad you got rid. And I'm really glad you got rid of COVID.
We hope.
That's awesome.
Another thing I have here is I appreciate, and I'm sure the board does, that President Kennedy has become so involved in our community. She attends so many community organizations, represents us, and you know, we had a goal here a few years ago of making this St. Joseph's University, and I think she's done a tremendous job in gaining that toehold, or commitment, I should say. So thank you for that. And I think you're now on the board at Mosaic.
I am. I joined the.
I think that's a tremendous accomplishment. Great, good partner we have with Mosaic. Okay, as chair of the board, it's my obligation to appoint a nominating committee at this meeting to prepare nominations to be voted on in June at our next board meeting. So Lee Tiemann and Kayla Schoonover has graciously agreed to be that nominating committee. So if there's people you'd like to see nominated or not nominated, let them know. For the Innovation Stockyard Board, I reappoint Al Landis. He's graciously agreed to serve another term there. Thank you, Al. For the Foundation Board, I reappoint Bob Woolman. He's graciously agreed to represent us on that board again. Thank you, Bob. The next board meeting will be on Thursday, June 22nd, 2023 at 1:30 a.m. in this room. PM.
Oh,
You
come
caught
on.
that, didn't
I was so excited.
I heard you
Probably
make
the
a
only
noise.
person still up.
Okay, just to be clear, June 22nd, 1:30 PM, right here. Is there any old business before the board? Is there any new business before the board? Are there any board member comments or questions at this time? There being no further comments or questions, a vote will be held to close the meeting pursuant to Missouri statutes 610.021, sections 1, 2, 3, and 14 to consider legal matters, real estate, personnel, and other matters protected by law. Do I have a motion to close the meeting?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, so we're going into closed session, but first we'll have a 15-minute a break here. And again, thanks to the visitors.
I know. I know.
I think my leg's healed. You're hungry and your leg is healed.
It's that Mountain Dew. That's what it is.
Got another one waiting in the front. for me. By
Do I have a
the time I get
motion?
home, I'll be able to run it.
Do I have a motion to return to public session?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carried. The board meeting is back in open session. Do I have a motion to approve the personnel recommendations and other legal matters as presented in closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for your
We don't wanna-
attendance